I hear?
Good morning and welcome to the First Universalist Church of Yarmouth. My name is Joanna Landsman and I'm a member of the board and the worship council here at First U, and I am so happy to be greeting you this morning. At First Universalist, our mission is to explore our faith, embrace this community, and to engage the world as spiritual seekers. May we take those words to heart. Before we begin our service this morning, I have a couple of announcements and reminders. First, our mid-year meeting is 1 week from today, next Sunday, January 30th. This is our opportunity as a church to check in on how things are going and to look forward together to the rest of the church year and beyond. Members and friends are encouraged to attend on Zoom right here or right after the service next Sunday. So please mark your calendars. And second, there will be time for fellowship immediately after today's service right here on Zoom. So grab your coffee or tea or cocoa and join us to catch up with one another. For details about other opportunities for joy, learning, engagement, and connection at First U, please check Channels, our weekly e-newsletter that shows up in your inbox each Friday. If you aren't receiving Channels but would like to, please email us at office@uuyarmouth.org, and we'll put you on our list. This morning's service is being offered by one of First U's small groups, a small group comprised of parents of young children. The members of this small group say they have based today's service loosely on our monthly theme of living with intention. In pursuit of living their lives intentionally, and as they navigate life with toddlers and teens and tornadoes of craft supplies and school lunches and jobs and who knows what else, they come with an intentionally varied mashup of how they are each living with intention as parents of youngsters amid a global pandemic. Their reflections, whether seat of their pants or more tethered, will touch on cultivating a world they want to live in, while often just trying to survive and to make the next best choice. We thank them kindly for being here today, whether it's by means of a recorded video or live with us here on Zoom. We thank them for their willingness to share their gifts and intentions with us. I invite you now to take a deep breath as we settle into this sacred space and time together. Sam Chandler, our music director, will play us into worship, after which Chelsea Beckett will lead us in our Unison Affirmation and chalice lighting.
Thank you, Sam and Joanna. Sitting on my counter where I get myself ready each morning are a number of motivational pieces. I will often scan them to start my day on a positive note. There is the "You've got this" sign and the sweet cards from that are sent to me by my sister and my friends. But the most meaningful one to me is the framed printout I have of our church's Unison Affirmation, one that has been a part of our community for as long as I can remember. Reading it aloud feels grounding and connecting and is a perfect reminder of how I want to live my life. I believe our Unison Affirmation is a beautiful guide for living with intention. With that, please join me in saying the words of our Unison Affirmation, which Joanna is copying into the chat. While you do, I ask that you take this moment to really think about what these words mean and how they can help guide you in your journey to live with intention. We are united in seeking to increase love with justice and to constitute a free church open to all people. Mindful of our past and drawing upon modern knowledge, we respond to the spiritual needs of persons and are devoted to the common good in community, nation, and world. We cherish the integrity of each individual and search for truth with reason as our guide. We respect differences of opinion and strive to be a democratic community. We are concerned with this world and open to the future. Right, it is now time to light our chalice. And while I do not have a chalice in my home, I thought this might be the perfect time to finally light this candle that I was gifted by my youth group 18 years ago when graduating high school. It was actually made from the sand in our youth group's Joys and Sorrows tray. So it's very meaningful to me, and it has moved with me throughout the years, always connecting me to this incredible community and the important people who helped shape my life. Put it where you can see it, and then we'll light it. All right, a lot of stuff on this desk. All right, please join me. Hold on a second. We light our chalice in peace and friendship.
Good morning, folks. I have a children's book to share with everyone this morning. It's called The Stuff of Stars, and it's about how all the big events in history have come together and guided us to this moment and this place where we can be together.
Can I sit right there?
The Stuff of Stars by Marion Dane Bauer, illustrated by Equa Holmes. In the dark, in the deep, deep dark, a speck floated, invisible as thought, weighty as God. There was yet no time, there was yet no space, no up, no down, no edge, no center. No earth with soaring hawks, scuttling beetles, trees reaching for the sky. There was no sky, no you, no me, only the speck, waiting, waiting. And then the beginning of all beginnings went bang. And in a trillionth of a second, Our universe was born, a cloud of gas, unfolded, unfurled, zigged, zagged, stretched, collided, expanded, expanded, expanded. Bits bumped, gathered, fused. And throughout the cosmos, stars caught fire. Trillions of stars, but still no planets to attend to those stars. And if no planets, then no oceans, no mountains, no hippopotami, no violets blooming in a shady wood, no crickets singing to the night, no day, no night. The stars burned and burned. They burned so long and so hot that some of them exploded, flinging stardust everywhere. And the ash of those dying stars gathered into planets, and the planets circled other stars. But still, no bluebirds, no butterflies, still no snails, no giraffes, still no you, no me. The planets closest to their star stayed very hot. The ones far away grew very cold. But one lucky planet, a fragile blue ball we call Earth, was neither too far nor too near. It circled its yellow star, the one we call the sun, from just the right distance, and with just the right tilt to be sometimes warm, sometimes cool. Perfect for turning that starry stuff into mitochondria, jellyfish, spiders, into ferns and sharks, into daisies and galloping horses. Again and again, stardust gave birth to stardust. Dinosaurs lived and died, making room for humans. Our great-great-great-grandparents and all before them lived and died, making room for more and more children. Then one day, in the dark, in the dark, in the deep, deep dark, another speck floated, invisible as dreams, special as love. Waiting, waiting, dividing, changing, growing, until at last, you burst into the world. You took a big breath of the same air once breathed by woolly mammoths. You cried tears that were once salty seas. Your hair once the carbon in a leaf. You and the singing whales, the larks, the frogs. You and me loving you. All of us, the stuff of stars.
All right, we now come to the time in our service that we set aside for quiet prayer and meditation. This is a time to reflect on the events of the past week, look forward to what may come in the days ahead, offer a loving prayer or thought to someone in need of love, or simply be here now in this moment and all that it has to offer in sensation and emotion. Following this moment of quiet, I will open our time of sharing, and all will be welcome to share a joy, sorrow, or concern you hold today. Won't you join me now in taking a deep breath in and a calming breath out as we begin this sacred time of silence. We now come to the time in our service where we share our joys, sorrows, and concerns. All are welcome to share at this time. If you have something you'd like to speak out loud, please let us know in the chat and we will call your name in order. When I call your name, please unmute, turn your video on, and share your joys and sorrows with us. Okay. For all that's been said, for all that we hold inside, for all we simply do not have the words to explain, we hear you, we hold you. We pray for your immediate comfort, continued joy, a path forward, and the seeds of peace. Amen.
And now a blessing from one of my recent favorites, Kate Bowler. This is a blessing for keeping your heart soft when everything is broken. And I like to give myself a little bit of permission and sometimes read it as a blessing for trying to keep your heart soft when everything is broken. Blessed are you who see it all now, the terrible, beautiful truth that our world, our lives seem irreparably broken, and you can't unsee it. The hungry kid, the exhausted mom, the woman who wonders if any of this is worth it, the loneliness and despair. Blessed are you who glimpse reality and don't turn away. This kind of seeing comes at a steep cost, and it is a cost you may not have intentionally paid. But here you are, seeing things clearly. Blessed are you who have worked hard to keep your heart soft. You who live with courage, fixing what is in your reach, praying about what is not, and loving still. May you experience deeper capacity and glimpses of hope as you continue to see the world as it is. Terrible, beautiful, fragile.
Our sixth UU principle calls us to promote justice for all. As in the words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. To honor this ideal, today's half-plate recipient is the Maine Unitarian Universalist State Advocacy Network, also called MUSON. MUSON connects Maine's 26 UU congregations to amplify our influence in 4 broad social justice policy areas in Maine. The healthcare issue group is focused on bills supporting universal healthcare, equity in immunizations, and protecting women's reproductive rights and freedoms in Maine. We are grateful for their work. Please give generously to support the work of this important collaboration.
You stop keeping track of the months as though each month is ordinary and expected, as though the weeks breeze by, as though the days aren't miraculous and difficult. You stop keeping track of months because somehow it becomes shameful or weird or a joke. It's okay if you still count though, I do. It's okay if you count the hours until bedtime or the minutes until you have some help, or the months from when it all began. For me, 38 months in, and it is still so precious and tenuous and terrifying. Most days are the same and completely new. This small person is becoming over and over, and you are becoming over and over. 38 months, I'll mark it even if it's strange. I'll celebrate it even when it's joy and it's struggle. months of bewilderment, growth, exhaustion, and the deepest love. Setting my intention then in parenting is this: be there for the precious and tenuous and terrifying moments. Be there for the slog of days. Be there for the wonderment of months. Maybe it doesn't seem like a practice or an intention to simply be there, but 38 months in, and there's something about just being. Being there with big, hard feelings. Being there with wonder. Being there to witness.
Where do intentions reside in the body? The brain is obviously our center of thought, observing life, self, and the world around us, evaluating actions that can be taken, ways of being that might impact the reality of life, self, and the world around us, setting intentions and strategizing on how to move toward them. But we can become trapped in these thoughts, and an intention can remain a distant North Star. What about the heart? Are we able to move toward our intentions without tuning in to the pump that keeps us alive each moment? What if following our daily routines, making to-do lists, troubleshooting life surprises, and executing said to-do lists leave us in a metaphorical and literal slump? What if all of these intentions essentially rely on open-heartedness in order to move from intention to action, yet we find ourselves hunched over and exhausted, unable to even remember our intentions? I have a sense that those of us feeling this slump at any point in time could use some movement in the body. As a parent of young children, most days are sorely lacking in time with which to move our bodies, with the exception of lifting and carrying another small body around and picking things up off the floor from dawn until dusk. With that in mind, I share with you today a simple and doable movement exercise to help take you out of the slump, if only for a moment. You can do this sitting or standing, eyes opened or closed. If your shoulders are not already curving forward, well, congratulations. If your shoulders are already curving forward, great, because we're going to start this exercise by purposely rounding forward and exaggerating the slumped, hunched shoulders. Go ahead and let your head drop toward your chest also. Embody your Eeyore. Imagine that your heart is a light that is hardly visible in this scrunched up position, but it is shining dimly underneath the barriers. What color is your light? Mine is an ember-like glowing red. Now, as you breathe in, leave your head hanging, but start to bring your heart up toward your chin. And imagine the light beginning to shine more outward in front of you. Your gaze is still downward as you exhale. Relax your shoulders and imagine the glow of your heart shining forward, a bit brighter and less tampered than before. As you inhale again, bring your shoulders toward your ears while letting your chin lift off of your chest. Your eyes are now looking in front of your face. As you exhale, allow the shoulders to slide backward as you relax all of your neck, shoulder, and face muscles. Notice that your heart light now shines up at more of an upward diagonal. On the third breath, lift your shoulders to your ears once again. And on the exhale this time, imagine your heart is shining toward the sky. On the exhale, let your arms drop down to your side and palms open as your gaze follows your heart upward, skyward, and your shoulder blades melt toward each other down your back. Now return your gaze and your chin to neutral while allowing your heart to remain open and your breath to continue pumping that oxygen as you move on to your next task. You might find ways to punctuate your day with this heart opener. Each time you notice that you have physically hunched over again, or that you feel mentally blocked, or when you are in a power struggle with your child or anyone, each time you walk through a doorway, or you could set a chime to go off intermittently throughout the day as a nudge. May you always move toward your intentions with an open heart.
I have a reflection from the American novelist and professor Leslie Jameson. She writes, "Empathy isn't just something that happens to us, a meteor shower of synapses firing across the brain. It's also a choice we make to pay attention, to extend ourselves. It's made of exertion, that dowdier cousin of impulse. Sometimes we care for another because we know we should or because it's asked for, but this does not make our caring hollow. The act of choosing simply means we've committed ourselves to a set of behaviors greater than the sum of our individual inclinations. This confession of effort chafes against the notion that empathy should always rise unbidden, that genuine means the same thing as unwilled, that intentionality is the enemy of love. But I believe in intention, and I believe in work. I believe in waking up in the middle of the night and packing our bags and leaving our worst selves for better ones." I have an excerpt of the poem Dead Stars by Aydah. "My mouth is full of dust, and I wish to reclaim the rising, to lean in the spotlight of streetlight with you toward what's larger within us, toward how we were born. Look, we are not unspectacular things. We've come this far, survived this much. What would happen if we decided to survive more, to love harder? What if we stood up with our synapses and flesh and said, no, no to the rising tides, stood for the many mute mouths of the sea, of the land? What would happen if we used our bodies to bargain for the safety of others, for Earth, if we declared a clean night, if we stopped being terrified, if we launched our demands into the sky, made ourselves so big people could point to us with the arrows they make in their minds, rolling their trash bins out after all this is over?"
I didn't initially intend to be a parent. I intended to be a nun. When you're a closeted teen in a Mennonite hamlet being raised by an evangelical family and you really love Jesus, that is the most obvious solution to the problem of straight marriage and its most notorious outcome, parenthood. Even when I escaped the clutches of the homophobic divine, my intentions regarding children didn't initially change. After all, reproduction remained mostly the province of, well, you know, and I wasn't going to go there. The other options were expensive, and I was poor, and I had 2 dogs to provide for, who talked back quite enough for my taste. Honestly, if we pull a few layers off the onion, the truth is that my intention was always to not become my father. Call it an anti-intention. That has been the guiding star of my life. And once my daughter came on the scene, it became the impending supernova that underlined every moment of uncertainty. I ruled my behavior with an internal iron rod of anti-intention, and in that way allowed my father's poor parenting to define my own parenting. I suppose I can thank him for that. I've heard it said that we all become our parents, particularly as we parent our own children, and the revulsion that that thought creates in me is visceral. It is a specter that follows us to the playground, to the library, to bedtime. I rail against the possibility. But as I settle into this parenthood thing, as I learn what I'm capable of, as I find the opposite of him is instinctive, I wonder if there's a chance I was never going to turn into him at all. Maybe it's okay to decide for myself how I intend to parent my child, rather than defining parenthood within the negative space created by his looming form. If I think about parenthood as a journey, it is one without a known destination. My daughter will be who she will be, just as I became who I am, and she will make choices that lead her in all kinds of directions, far away from where we began, her tiny 5-pound body cradled between my palm and elbow, already on her first day, full of rebellion and magic. But if, as a parent, I can't determine where she'll end up, perhaps I can at least start her off in a direction and hope she doesn't crank a U-turn. Our intentions point us in a direction. If we're lucky, our children let us walk with them for a while, guiding them as much as possible toward the good things we know. When they eventually veer off course, we hope it's to find a new good thing, one that we didn't see or weren't aware of. I am so new at this parenting thing, practically a baby myself, but I have parents who I know hoped I would end up somewhere very different. They had intentions for my life, for the direction it would take, and whether they know it or not, where I am now is not so different from where they imagined when I was a baby. After all, I am now happily married, albeit to a woman, who is an employee of a church, the wrong kind of church, with a beautiful child, better to have 4 or 5, but okay, living comfortably in a nice town, which is too far away. I am living a life almost parallel to my preacher's wife sisters. I guess I hope that the intentions I set guide my parenting, and my parenting can give her a direction. When she needs to make her sharp right turn, I hope it brings her to a happiness I couldn't see, and that the foundations we built for her equip her to travel to places we couldn't have imagined. And now it is time for our Unison Benediction, and then we will release you to the world. For those who come here seeking God, may God go with you. For those who come embracing life, may life return your affection. For those who come to seek a path, may a way be found and the courage to take it step by step.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it